Welcome and welcome back, fiber friends, to yet another natural dyeing video. Okay, I know that this does not look like a very appealing color here, but if you've been following along, you know that recently I did some wool dyeing with safflower. Now, the thing about safflower is you can actually get two different colors out of it. You can get like a really lovely yellow out of it, which that yellow holds up to heat really well. So it can be used to dye protein fibers like alpaca or wool and other things like that. However, safflower can also produce a really lovely, like pinkish orangey color, which you can see a better example of in my dish over here. I filtered the safflower out of this. So what you have to do is you mix about 10% of the safflower's weight in soda ash into the safflower after you've extracted the yellow dye. And then you let that sit for 2 hours, which I did in this jar right here. And then I'm gonna flip you guys, actually no, I'll just lift it up over the sink. You can see here, this is my little like distillation filter that I made. This is a cheesecloth over a mug with a rubber band to hold it in place. And I'm just filtering the rest of the safflower out, and then I'm dumping the liquid in this vat over here. What I'm hoping to do today is dye up some plant-based fibers that I've been spinning up. And the reason I want to do this is because this dye actually doesn't hold up to heat. So it can really only be used on like plant-based fibers essentially, because it just needs to be soaked like overnight, which is what we're going to do. But the first thing I need to do is finish filtering this dye, which is not a luxurious process, but I guess I'll show you guys some video of me doing that. You can see some of the other dyes in the back that I have saved. Those I'm just holding on to because I've already dyed a lot of fiber with them, but frankly, I think I can get at least another round of color out of them, even if that color ends up turning up really pastel. So I'm just holding on to those for now in some jars. But let's finish this filtering process. I do actually have to finish spinning up the cotton yarn sample that we're gonna use. I need to ply up those yarn samples. And then of course, obviously I need to get those samples into this dye vat. Now, one of the things that I really wanted to highlight while I'm doing this process, although it is not very like aesthetic or nice to look at, is that you'll note that I'm wearing gloves. Now, I'm notorious for forgetting or simply foregoing gloves where a lot of other folks who work with wool would absolutely use them. I don't recommend this practice. I actually really admire those who are better about using the proper safety equipment that they should be using when working with this type of stuff. But every single online resource that I looked up that talked about this second pull of color you can get from safflower highly recommended the use of gloves. They didn't really specify why, but I took note of that and I busted out the dish gloves for this, and I recommend that you maybe do the same. Otherwise, I highly recommend you use a cheesecloth versus like a coffee filter. It's going to take forever if you use a coffee filter. I speak from experience. And don't be surprised if your whole kitchen ends up smelling like chamomile tea after this. Classic me, I did wait until the absolute last minute to finish applying these samples. The dye was literally ready and I was still applying. All right, fiber friends, it's like a whole day later, which is a little bit later than I wanted to be finishing these samples, but my summer fiber samples are finally done. They're all plant-based. We have the bamboo, we have the pineapple fiber, and then we have our natural cotton. So some of it is white, and then some of it is this like tannish. It almost looks greenish to me. I don't know. I feel like it looks like more of a tan now that it's plied up. But I'm really excited to pop these into the safflower dye and see if we can get some pink orange yarn. Actually going to be leaving for a wedding that I'm going to tomorrow, but I do plan on being back Friday night or early Saturday morning. And so what I think I'm gonna do is put these samples in the fridge with the dye so that it doesn't get like funky. And we're gonna leave it for, I don't know, as long as it takes for me to get back. And the suggestion is to at least let it dye overnight. The longer, the better. At least that's what I've read about the safflower pink dye. So I don't know, let's get to it. Not gonna lie, guys, usually I'm very trusting with the natural dye process. However, I am having my doubts with this one, just because I personally feel like the dye looks yellow still. Like, I just don't feel like it looks very pink, or orange. Maybe, I guess it's orange. I don't know. It looks very similar to me to the yellow dye, especially as I'm adding these skeins and they're absorbing the dye. But I don't know. I guess we're gonna leave them in my fridge and we're gonna see. I probably shouldn't just be touching this with my bare hands. My hands already feel slippery and weird. I should put gloves on. Okay, please ignore the fact that I have my toaster on. Okay, I need to make myself a bagel before I leave for the drive because I'm really hungry. But yeah, I'm not crazy, right? This looks yellow. Guys, I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful. I'm feeling like something went wrong between then and now. Maybe it's because it oxidized. Maybe I shouldn't have waited a whole day. Ugh, I don't know. We're gonna leave this in the fridge. I'm gonna come back to it in a few days. Obviously, I untwisted them because I realized that would get more even dye coverage, obviously. I don't know. This one might end up being a fail. It's okay to fail. It happens. It's not the end of the world. I don't know. We've had a lot of wins lately with the natural dyeing, so we're gonna have to see. I'm back, okay? It is weeks later. If we're being really, really honest, it's probably been almost a month since I actually finished dyeing these samples. But it did give me more time and I don't know, more thoughts and reflections on the Safflower that I kind of wanted to share with you guys because I think they're interesting. I think they're important. I think they highlight the really interesting nature of natural dyes and their lack of permanence. Okay, so looking at these samples, it's not very sunny right now, so the conditions are not great. As you can see, the pink dye is very light. It's more of a blush, if we're being honest. I mean, when I hold it up just by itself, you can kind of see the pink pop more on this sample. Finishing this in water definitely brought out the fact that this is actually green cotton and not a tan color like I thought it might be. I thought it could be green, but I didn't want to get my hopes up. I'm so pleased that this is naturally green colored cotton. I think it's so special and beautiful, even if it's not my most even work. Here's the thing about the Safflower, okay? Obviously, on the non-white fiber, specifically the pineapple, the color did not take. I think that if you didn't know to look for it, you wouldn't even really be able to tell that this was dyed. I mean, it's the suggestion of pink. It's like the LaCroix of pink dyes, you know? Something that was also noted to me online a lot is that Safflower dye is very light sensitive, so it fades really quickly when it is exposed to UV and light in general. And here's the thing, I kind of wish I had reported back earlier on these samples because I'll be honest with you, I was drying them outside and then it started to get sunny and I had remembered someone online saying they're very prone to fading in the light. So I brought the samples inside. They took forever to dry, which was part of the reason that there was just this huge delay and this loss of momentum on this project because they had to be dried inside. I don't really have a ceiling fan in this apartment or anything like that. And it took forever. It took forever. And even though I've only had them, I wouldn't even say they've been exposed to that much natural light. My plants, my pothos and my I have a Chinese evergreen in my room, in my bedroom. Both of those get a lot more light and it's not that much light. Than these samples have seen. They've been kind of sitting in that back corner on my ottoman and I still feel like they faded. I genuinely feel like since they originally dried, I do feel like they faded even more and the pink is even more subtle than it was. And I don't really have proof of that, but I do feel that way. I just feel like it's already a very light dye. And then on top of that, you do have to be really careful about what it's being exposed to in order to maintain that dye. It does remind me kind of the color you can get off of avocado pits or some people get off of avocado pits. And I have heard that is also a bit of a light sensitive thing. It fades in the light. but I can't speak from experience. I actually haven't done any avocado pit or skin dyeing before, so maybe we'll make that another project. This was really fun and interesting, though. I don't regret doing it. I think that that's the special thing about natural dyes. It's the process and the experience as much as it is the result. And it's being able to use something too that would have gone to waste. Because, again, you can get two different colors. So I feel like if I had just done the yellow, I would have wasted the pink dye in many ways. So I don't regret doing this. I do think it was like a worthwhile experiment. Would I do it again? Probably. Honestly, probably. I would probably try to figure out if I can get it to be a little bit more concentrated and maybe try to focus on like making a bamboo blend where it could really like pop. I don't know. Some of these are ideas and reflections for another day. I did just want to finally report back on these because I filmed not that much footage, but I filmed some footage on this and I'm trying to get back into the routine of filming and checking in with you guys on projects. And so I wanted to see this one through, even if this video was a little messy, even if it took really long and the editing is super clunky and there's a big gap in the middle, that's fine. I just want to tell you guys about the results and what I was able to yield from it. Have you guys ever dyed with safflower or some kind of dye that was really light sensitive before? I feel like there's probably some really cool ways you could use that to your advantage. Like, ooh, imagine what would be really cool is, at least in my opinion, kind of mixing. I don't know how one would accomplish this. Probably dyeing it in the wool, right? You dye the wool first. You mix like artificial or I guess not artificial, but like acid dyes or more permanent dyes with natural dyes that will like fade over time and change over time. That could just be really interesting. That could make a really interesting piece. I'm just spitballing. The wheels are clearly turning again. I, ironically enough, have to leave right now my apartment for another wedding. Honestly, I should probably be on the road already. But I just had a really busy day. I had to make a lot of follow-up phone calls. If you watched my last like video / vlog / life update, you already know that I'm kind of like in between jobs / like seeking another job right now. And I actually had some really good luck today with that. So fingers crossed that all works out. And again, if it doesn't, that's okay because I'm going to find something and it's all going to work out. Yeah, I love you guys. I really appreciate that. It's so funny. I was really kind of worried stepping back because I have not been checking in on my social media. Like I kind of just really unconsciously decided that I needed a break and I just wasn't going to check anything. Like it's not just that I haven't been making content. I have not been using like Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. And so I didn't really know what I was going to walk back into. I kind of expected it to be pretty quiet on the Western Front, if I'm being honest, because I just haven't been posting. And so like, I didn't really expect there to be new comments, but there's so many more of you than there was when I left. And I really appreciate that. Thanks for tagging along. Anyway, I've done enough yapping. Okay, this video is long enough. Maybe it's probably going to be a pretty short one. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing and leaving comments. I really appreciate it. It was really nice to come back to, honestly. There was a lot to catch up on. And yeah, thanks for watching another episode of the Wolf to Gold podcast. I'll see you guys on the next one.